How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Luke from Oatmeal Robotics, and welcome back to another episode of Mechanical Mayhem. This is going to be a half episode just because the way the bracket's working out. We've got just 4 fights in the losers bracket here before we're kind of caught up with the winners bracket. So, without further ado, let's get on with our first of 4 fights of the day, starting with Spellbreak and Atlantis. These two robots have they've been doing interesting so far. Spellbreak, 2 fights ago, they had a narrow win against Bloodlust and then a quick loss against Blank in the last match. But Atlantis, still trying to figure out if that new downgraded weapon motor is working out for them. It seemed to do really good for them in their last fight against, I believe it was Deadman. But let's start off with Spellbreak. They have been doing all right, but they should have a really good advantage here. This robot was meant to take on drums. And Atlantis, I don't know if you guys know this or not, is a drum. So Spellbreak's plan here is just go straight at the drum on Atlantis and hope that the drum bounces off of those green forks, flips Atlantis over, and then try to pin them, get them in the screws, just incapacitate them while they're upside down. All right, next up we got Atlantis, who has been doing pretty good. Like I said, their last match against Deadman was quite a good match. It really showed that they have the drive, they have the weapon power, they can go pretty far in the tournament. Those forks, not the lowest to the ground, but if they can get that drum in play, then they are definitely looking for trouble. They do mean business. So let's see how these two mix down at the box. All right, the robots are in the arena. It looks like we're just about to begin. And right out the gate, you can see that Spellbreak definitely has quicker straight line speed, but Atlantis just looks a little bit more controlled. You can see them kind of positioning a little bit better. But Spellbreak now has them in that corner, and you can see Atlantis popped off of that little wedge on Spellbreak. It kind of bounced off of it a little. So Spellbreak's gonna want to get like a nice ramp and try to get Atlantis over. Atlantis just kind of going after Spellbreak, but Spellbreak kind of just running away. But now Atlantis getting to the side of Spellbreak and just trying to get that drum into play as much as they can. Spellbreak somehow flipping themselves over. This robot kind of can self-right. It can drive on its side, but it can't necessarily self-right. But it gets some help from Atlantis there. That'll show some good aggression and control, I suppose. Now Spellbreak just kind of having a seizure all over the arena. Good shot there from Atlantis. But Atlantis doesn't really have the speed to keep up with Spellbreak, but Spellbreak now in the corner. But Spellbreak hasn't really been taking advantage of their speed necessarily. But there it is! They flipped Atlantis! Atlantis can drive upside down, but it will probably have some radio issues. So it's going to be kind of tricky. You can see I'm walking all the way to the other side of the arena. Spellbreak there, just keeping Atlantis there, doing what they need to do. Honestly, this fight would be better if I just started fighting Marco. Atlantis getting freed there, but they were stuck off of all 4 wheels for a second. That's not where you want to be. But that drum does kind of skip on the floor right now. But those wheels at least are touching, so they are still able to be in this fight. They're not going to get counted out anytime soon, unless they get stuck like they did earlier. But they definitely aren't being as aggressive or controlled as they were before. But Spellbreak hasn't been doing much either to capitalize on the fact that Atlantis is now upside down. They've kind of just been bouncing off the walls. And they've somehow flipped themselves on their side again. But without Atlantis to help, it's going to be really interesting to see how they get back on their wheels. They're kind of, what are they, gliding across the arena? Both of these robots are really, really having a tough time. This is a very weird match. Well, Atlantis moving towards Spellbreak. Spellbreak moving as well. I don't really know what's happening. Spellbreak somehow got back on its wheels. Okay, there we go. Now they're actually doing pretty good. They're trying to push Atlantis. They've touched them. Almost getting Atlantis popped back onto its wheels. That would have been horrible if you're Spellbreak. And Atlantis in that corner now, seeing if they can get any more radio. And it looks like they can. They're doing just enough to avoid a countout. And it looks like that is going to be the end of the match. So that is going to be A very, very interesting decision. It looked like it leaned a little more Atlantis, but they were upside down for longer. But the judges are going to give it to Atlantis. They just did a little bit more while they were on their wheels, and neither robot really capitalized while they were both on their sides. I guess Atlantis was driving towards Spellbreak while they were upside down, so I guess that kind of set the win in their favor. So good job to Atlantis. Spellbreak, unfortunately, out of the tournament, but Atlantis moving on. All right, our next match is going to be Icebreaker and Tungsten. These are two very heavy hitters, both in very different ways. So without further ado, let's start off with Icebreaker. This robot is the big stick, all right? This is probably one of the, if not the strongest vertical spinner hex bug. This thing hits like a truck. When the drive's working, it is phenomenal, and we have yet to see that weapon die. That thing is bulletproof. But they are going up against an overhead spinner in Tungsten, who can actually snipe the weapon wires that are going to Icebreaker's motor. So basically, it's can Icebreaker get enough big shots on before Tungsten has a chance to place that surgical overhead spinner. If they can, they have a pretty good shot at winning this. Tungsten does have some durability. It has that TPU wedge, so they can shrug off a few hits, but they definitely don't want to get hit on that hammer arm or in the back or anywhere that's not black. So let's see how that goes down at the box. All right, the robots are in the arena, and we are on for a screamer of a match. So right off away, great box rush by Tungsten. Wasn't able to pin Icebreaker, but Icebreaker getting to the back of Tungsten, that's really not where you want to be if you're Tungsten. This is looking very bad for them. They're trying to, oh man, a nice shot by Icebreaker, just absolutely exploding part of that PETG top plate on Tungsten. But now Tungsten's starting to kind of get back into it. Looks like they might be having drive issues. I don't know if that's caused by Icebreaker. And Icebreaker almost out the arena. Can they get out from there? That's not where you want to be. Tungsten taking full advantage, but Icebreaker manages to find their way back into the arena, but it looks like Tungsten has hit that motor, and it looks like Icebreaker's weapon is down. That's not what you want to be, where you want to be if you're Icebreaker. They are still in the match, but they have lost their weapon, which is kind of their one big trick. You can see that pulley is still on, but it looks like Tungsten actually ripped the back of that brushed motor open a little, so that connection isn't there anymore. So if you're Icebreaker, you're just kind of pushing face to face, hoping that Tungsten's like spinner falls off. And it looks like it just has. Okay, Icebreaker might be back in this fight. It is now a Witch Doctor base versus a Bite Force base with forks, though. So you'd think Tungsten would still have that advantage, but Icebreaker is very front heavy. So they do have a lot of weight on those front driven wheels. So they should have a good amount of pushing power. But it looks like they might be having drive issues now. That's kind of the problem with Witch Doctor version 2s, especially ones with big spinners on them. The top plate tends to separate a little, and the pins holding the gears in place start to kind of move from their positions. But it looks like they're managing that pretty well right now. They're driving good enough. Tungsten, looks like they're spinning up that spinner occasionally, just trying to use it as a flail. I'm honestly very impressed that that connection hasn't come undone yet for that weapon motor. Yeah, you can see it spinning there. But Tungsten definitely just wants to try to out-wedge Icebreaker. It kind of looks like Lolo, man, if you just take off the head, kind of. But we should keep a watch out for the right side drive on Tungsten. It looks like it's cutting in and out as well. Icebreaker's left side isn't doing the hottest either. You can see it kind of having to limp over to Tungsten. But it looks like Tungsten getting to the side of Icebreaker. We're coming down to the closing seconds of the match. This fight really can go either way. I mean, Icebreaker got a really good shot on early on. Tungsten got a pretty good shot, almost getting Icebreaker out of the arena. It might come down to control or aggression, because both of these robots have taken some pretty even damage, all things considered. I wonder if the fact that Tungsten's spinner still works might actually help them in that match. But that will be the match. And it looks like they're going to give it to Tungsten in a fairly controversial, what might be controversial, I'm not too sure. I think that their spinning actually reduced how damage their weapon was in terms of points. So they actually narrowly won out against Icebreaker. And also just a little bit more control. So unfortunate exit for Icebreaker, but they had a much better season this time around. I'm sure Ice will be very happy. Our next match is going to be Catastrophe and Ocean Commotion. These are two very cool robots. They both have nice forks. They both have strong weapons. Catastrophe has a self-rider, but Ocean Commotion arguably has better drive. So without further ado, let's start off with Catastrophe. Coming off of a loss against their longtime rival Mayhem, Catastrophe is kind of looking to bounce back here. They know that they have pretty solid weapon power. They have pretty solid durability. They have very low, thick forks. So if they can get Ocean Commotion to kind of ride up on them, hopefully then they can kind of get that side hit, since they have two teeth on their disc. So they should have better chances of hitting Ocean Commotion's weapon than Ocean Commotion has at hitting Catastrophe's weapon. So they're hoping that they can kind of twist Ocean Commotion and like flip him over if they get him up on those forks. Speaking of Ocean Commotion, we have Ocean Commotion. They're hoping to get around the sides of Catastrophe's forks and just try to hit that little wedge behind the forks. Try to lift it up, try to hit the forks from the side. Anything to damage those forks to kind of peel them up. Because we've seen in previous fights that if Catastrophe's forks get peeled up, it actually stops the weapon from working sometimes. So Ocean Commotion's going to look to do that and try to flip Catastrophe over. Won't get him knocked out, but it'll give him some good control. So let's see whose strategy prevails down at the box. All right, the robots are in the arena. It looks like the fight's just about to begin. All right, both robots spinning up. Ocean Commotion has that belt upgrade now. They have had it since last fight, but I believe the spinner didn't even pop, or the belt didn't pop last fight against Panda. So they are looking pretty solid here. It might have improved their spin-up time as well. So they are looking almost better than when they started the season. Durability-wise, they haven't been shaken up. Catastrophe, they've had their moments, especially against Icebreaker. Well, I mean, it's Icebreaker, so. But we can see Ocean Commotion starting to peel up those forks on Catastrophe. Catastrophe, they do kind of sink back down over time, but it looks like there might be a little bit of imbalance in the spinner, because you can kind of see Catastrophe bouncing a little, which is going to hurt their ground effectiveness as well. And Ocean Commotion's picking their shots beautifully here, continuing to get to the side of Catastrophe. And they're starting to rack up some good damage too. But a nice shot there from Catastrophe. There you can kind of see Catastrophe hit the side of Ocean Commotion's weapon and kind of popped it up a little on its side. If they can get a good enough shot, they could flip Ocean Commotion, which could absolutely swing the fight in their favor. But as of right now, Catastrophe is really not driving that well. And Ocean Commotion is just kind of backing away, picking their shots, coming in, being aggressive, and then backing away again, letting the weapon spin up. There you could see Catastrophe hitting, kind of swatting away Ocean Commotion again, spinning him around. But now the weapon has come out of Catastrophe, or the weapon motor. That is really bad if you're them. I mean, it might still work. Yeah, you can see it still works, but they definitely don't want to get hit on that. If that gets ripped out, that's going to be big damage against them. Even then, it's really already some pretty big damage against them. Ocean Commotion just going in for the kill now. It looks like one of the sides of Catastrophe's drive is down. That left side is giving them trouble. I don't know if that's the wedge that's been dislodged and is kind of high centering them, or if it's just the drive side is giving out. It could be something's gummed up the gear train. I doubt it was like a motor got pulled or something, but a nice shot there from Ocean Commotion. And now you can see that wedge is fully propped up on Catastrophe. And they've been flipped over. Now they do have a self-rider, but that wedge and spinner combo, and it looks like the part of the self-rider has been broken off as well, and that's stopping them from being able to self-right. But they get help from Ocean Commotion, who's confident in their chances on winning this fight, so they are more than happy to kind of flip him back over. And now Catastrophe kind of in the corner. I don't know if they're moving enough to avoid a countout. Looks like Ocean Commotion is already celebrating. And Catastrophe's starting to move again a little bit, but it looks like we are coming to the closing seconds of the match anyway. So it doesn't really look like they're going to have much of a chance either way. And they're really not going to have a chance. It goes to Ocean Commotion. Very convincing, very dominant win there from Ocean Commotion. uh, doing just what they needed to do just to get the win and then backing away. So good job to them. Unfortunate exit from Catastrophe, losing to, well, they fought 3 tower verts in this tournament, and they beat one of them, and then they lost to the other 2. But oh well, I guess that's just not their good matchup. So long, Catastrophe. It was fun while it lasted. Our next fight is going to be Bloodlust and Squish. These are 2 rivals, and they've had a feud since Duckbots season 3, where they met in one of the later rounds, and Squish ended up coming out on top. But at this point, they have come for a rematch. This is a new Squish. Last time, Bloodlust broke Squish's weapon motor and caused them to go out of Duckbots because their weapon broke. So let's start off with Bloodlust. Now, even though they didn't come out on top the last time these 2 fought, they are pretty confident because they did gather data. They know that they have the power to break Squish's weapon, so they're going to go full offensive this match, and they're going to try to break Squish's weapon. They have the forks, so they're going to try to make sure that they can get under Squish, and Squish can't get under them this time. So they're hoping that they can just deliver a full like haymaker hit, break Squish's weapon, and then that way they can start dismantling hopefully other parts of Squish. Speaking of Squish, we have Squish. Now Squish is already going into this match with a damaged weapon. Pumpkin absolutely shredded the motor, and it's been kind of put back together, but we're not confident in the durability. So we are going to see how that goes for Squish. But they have gotten a better wedge setup since the last time they fought Bloodlust. They now have forks incorporated into the wedge. So look for them to try to be more of a control robot this time around than hitting Bloodlust with that weapon. So without further ado, let's see how that goes down at the box. All right, the robots are in the arena. Squish starting backwards and Bloodlust for some reason starting sideways. But right off the gate, Bloodlust spinning up, Squish up to speed. You can see they're missing one of their forks, but they are still going backwards with that backwards fork setup. They are going to try to control Bloodlust more this time. They are confident in their durability after seeing how they didn't take much damage to their wedge in their last match against this robot. But a good shot there from Bloodlust. Those forks seem to be getting caught up under the arena, but their disc is so big it kind of makes it easy to just back out. And a great shot there from Bloodlust, but they're upside down now. They had a really weird moment with their disc gyroing there. They drove against the wall, fell backwards, bounced off of their own weapon, and are now upside down. And Squish, I don't know if that weapon is spinning. It looks like it is, and they get a nice shot there. But it looks like Bloodlust has been counted out. And another win for Squish. That one seemed to be a little bit more on Bloodlust's end. They just kind of had a mistake there, and Squish made them pay. But sorry to Oof, but I did send him the old Squish disc along with some other stuff. So have fun with that. Yay! Just a little tongue-in-cheek, you know. Anyhow, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Like I said, only a half episode, but next week and all the remaining weeks, we have full episodes. So if you liked what you saw, you know, you can subscribe. If not, no harm done. But yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see the next episodes, and I'll catch you then. See ya.